Okay, thank you to all the panelists. So for our next discussion, last month, as most if not all of you know, Helium launched its second token, again, taking the incentive model that built up the entire IoT network to start building out coverage for a cellular network with a mobile token. So while we're all familiar with the incentive models and more of the kind of crypto and blockchain side, this next panel is going to be more of a discussion around different hardware and services that are going to be coming out and are already being built to support that next wave of growth. So I want to invite up the next group. We have Anne from Bobcat, Stephen from MosoLabs, Jesse from Baicells, Coco from MosoLabs, and Lyllah from Coindesk. And please join on stage. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
I guess this is the word.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me? Hello? You good?
I can hear you.
I'd love for you guys to just give a brief introduction about what it is you do and give us some background starting at the end.
Sure. My name is Anne. I'm VP of Partnerships at Bobcat. We are based in the US, and now we have over 15 people in the US. We have a bigger team in China, and our US team grew from 1 person last year to 15 since we have shipped more than 400,000 hotspots. And now we are working with Freedom 5 and also all the radio guys to launch 5G miners.
Great, and I'm Stephen Leotis. I'm one of the co-founders of MosoLabs. So we build indoor and outdoor small cell radios to empower all of you to build the Helium 5G network. We're also building other products like cameras and products that will be usable within these ecosystems. So pretty excited to be up here to talk about mobile today.
Yep. And I'm Jesse Raasch, CTO for Baicells North America. Based out of our technical office in Madison, Wisconsin. We also build radios for the Helium network for cellular. And yeah, I focus mostly on integration with Helium and providing the full ecosystem for CBRS 4G and 5G radios.
Hey everyone, my name is Coco Tang. I run consumer product at MosoLabs. You guys may know me as Cokes on Helium Discord. Very happy to be here.
So we're going to get straight into it. Can you talk to us about the journey for launching mobile? Was this always the vision for Helium, or has it been something that's kind of evolved along the way?
Yeah, I think for us, you know, the journey to start 5G and mobile really started in 2021 when Freedom 5 announced that they were going to build a 5G hotspot. And then it sort of evolved over time with the Network of Network HIP, which is also known as a Helium Improvement Proposal. And from there, with community feedback, it kind of evolved into what it is today. And with the announcement of the mobile carrier, we're super excited to kind of see how it evolves over time. I mean, this is just the beginning. We've got the supply flywheel going with our wonderful radio vendors here, and then also the demand coming from our mobile subscribers with the first crypto carrier announcement.
Great, thank you. Can you explain to us a little bit more about how the community can get involved?
Absolutely. Is that for me?
Sure. Start. You can start off, and then maybe we can go.
Yeah,
along.
I mean, for MosoLabs and for Helium community in general, I mean, the best way to get involved really is to join us on Discord, and we have various channels to chit chat in, and definitely coming up with different proposal ideas that may work out and help us inform decisions in the future.
Anne, I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that?
Of course, we sell the 5G hotspots. So after Freedom 5, we were the second vendor to be approved to sell the Freedom 5 licensed 5G hotspot, which we call the Bobber 500. We only started recently, so it's only just the start. But of course, other than buying the hardware, we also have a lot of content we're doing. So basically this year, one of our focuses is to try to make more educational content so that technical or non-technical users can also understand a little bit more about what is 5G and how do you do it. So for example, we have a YouTube channel. Right now, we only have about like 3,000 followers. It's not a lot, but we have a Bobber Academy, which is a podcast. We have already done 5 episodes, and in these 5 episodes, we actually have invited MosoLabs and Baicells and FreedomFi, and we plan to invite more people from the ecosystem. Maybe next time we can invite Coco to be on the show to really talk about like how to understand 5G, like making crypto and mining is one part, and then understanding the technology, the network, the deployment, and long-term use is the other thing. Because when we sell hardware to users, not only do we want to do customer support and better help do this, we also want to make sure that we're in this for the long term. And in order to be in this in the long term, you need to understand a little bit more. And of course, in that process of doing the podcast and talking to the different guest speakers, we learn a lot along the way so that we can also adapt and improve our products to make sure that we're all in this for the long term.
Great, thank you. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about mobile mining rewards. Can you help the audience understand, like, do different types of hardware mine more mobile? How does it work?
Yeah, I can jump in there. So, everyone knows right now we're in this mobile genesis period, which is defined as this 100-day period, which started, I guess it was maybe a month ago at this point. But you have 3 categories of radios. The indoor radio, which earns, they say, 1x of mobile token rewards. And then you have the outdoor radio, which we have on display out here to check out, earns 2.5x. And so it's a little bit more difficult to install, requires more effort, but provides a lot more coverage. So we're rewarding people more for putting up those radios. And then there's a third one. I'll let Jesse, you want to tell him about the third radio?
The high power?
Yeah, the high power one.
Yeah, and I don't remember, is that 5x now?
I think it's 4x.
4x, yeah.
I think it's 4x.
So 4x, so obviously in this Genesis period, we're trying to make it simple and incentivize, right, the first adopters in building this network. But very soon, right, this Genesis period ends. And as far as like, how do I get more rewards, it really just comes down to, are you providing new coverage? How large is that coverage, right? If you have a high power radio with a large sector antenna on it, obviously you're going to have a better option or better ability to provide that coverage. And also, like, where are you located? Are you vertically high enough? Are you in a dense enough area? So being able to provide new coverage and have some sort of density, that's going to matter a lot. So I know, like, at earlier session, there's a lot of jokes about putting a bunch of radios at the same location in the future. That isn't going to help you. But Genesis period, sure, you can get away with that. But I think a lot of the focus is starting to shift towards, am I creating new coverage? How large is that coverage? And yeah, if you have a very high location and you're able to take advantage of the high power, that's usually the direction you probably want to go. If you're maybe a single family home, maybe the low power might work a little better since you're not getting enough height to maybe penetrate enough blocks. So it really depends where you're located. And then, maybe how could you also potentially find new locations? There's a lot of new companies that have kind of formed, a lot of integrators that have came to market that are trying to take advantage of this. They're going around and talking to a lot of landowners, a lot of tower owners, and building owners. So anywhere that there could be a tall vertical asset, if you're in a city, if you talk to the building owner of that building, maybe you can get rights to the roof, right? So there's a lot of companies that are going around trying to build this massive, super user kind of network based on Helium. But yeah, I think location is going to be the key. And then, again, just trying to provide new coverage and picking the radio that makes sense for that is going to be what brings the most rewards.
Yeah, I just want
And
to
to elaborate on what Jesse said, we're in this Genesis period right now. And looking forward to post-Genesis, how do we really engage in proof of coverage of these small cell radios? And something that the core team is putting together is considering a usefulness score for every single radio. Is it providing useful coverage, right? As Jesse was saying, we don't want people deploying 10s to 20s of indoor radios in a basement because it's not providing useful coverage. So what we want to do is kind of get all of these different data points from things we know about the radio, how it's set up, also looking at publicly available data sets. Is the radio installed in a commercial space? Because that we know is more useful for mobile subscribers of the network, right? So that'll increase your usefulness score and potentially earn you better mobile rewards. So that's really important for us to look into the future and to consider.
You're referring to this usefulness score. As a user, how do I see that? How do I interact with that? How do I know what I'm doing is on the right?
Yeah, so all of this will be represented in a HIP, a Helium Improvement Proposal, to go over what each individual components are and how that may affect the score at the end of the day. And of course, because we are, very much transparent in how we convey that information, you would be able to check as a hotspot owner the usefulness score of all your radios. And of course, as a mobile subscriber, the more useful area you're in, the better it is for you to engage with the Helium 5G network.
Anne, I'm wondering if you can answer this. What have been some of the trends you've seen for hardware makers in this 5G rollout?
Are you talking about challenges?
Yeah.
So I think if anybody joined Helium last year, I think we were all familiar with what happened with COVID and all the supply chain shortage. With all of that, I think every individual maker tried their very best. And for Bobcat, since we started early last year, we were able to ship all the 400,000 LoRa miners. So basically now we have no backlog, and we were able to eventually and slowly pick up. So now that our shipping speed for the LoRa IoT hotspots is back to 7 business days from when at the longest time it used to be 28 weeks. Now because we've had that experience in the past, so we have secured enough supply chain components for our 5G hotspots. So right now what we can do is next business day shipping. And then we are also trying to look at the market, trying to look at the demand so that we can really see how many more we should start having the factories manufacture and ship, so that we want to make sure the customers, if they want to buy it, they get it soon, they get it now. And other than that, because we started with hardware, but we as a product and dev team, we have really evolved to adapt and grow with the community. So early on this year, we started our own Bobber app to work with all the different maker app requirements. And right now, we have over 100,000 users on our Bobber app who are using the Bobber app to deep link into their Helium wallets and monitoring all the hotspots. And going back to a little bit of the usefulness you were saying earlier, so one thing that you need to see whether you're providing valid 5G coverage is whether you have that speed. So basically it's quality of service. And we are trying with the Bobber app to make sure that we give users the ability to remotely monitor and to see, are the gateways providing the required speed? So today, if you actually link the Bobber app with the Helium wallet and monitor either your Freedom 5 or Bobber 500 5G gateways, you will be able to see what is the speed test and what is the basically the speed your gateway is providing. And that's really important, because after Genesis, if your gateways don't meet that speed requirements, you won't make mobile because you're not providing quality and useful coverage for the network.
And I think one of the challenges that we're all coming together here is how do we install more radios and also empower people with the knowledge on where best to place the radio. We've been talking about usability, and I think that's incredibly important going forward. With the T-Mobile announcement from this morning, how do we provide people with the knowledge and really the capability to self-install these radios? I mean, if anyone in the audience has tried to install these outdoor radios, it can be tricky. Where do you point it? How do I get the best rewards? How do I set myself up for best proof of coverage and data transfer as the rewards shift to that a bit later? So I think, on your point, Anne, it's we're providing these radios, but we need to provide educational tools and the software interfaces that will allow you to, find the best location, this usefulness score, figure out how, is my installation providing the coverage that I want, and how can I potentially optimize that? And so, looking at beyond the hardware itself, providing visibility into the network.
You mentioned that you want the user to have like a smooth experience. I'm wondering if you can elaborate on how you're going to do that, because you briefly mentioned like setting up a Helium hotspot. You have to be a pretty technical person to be able to understand it. It's not an easy thing to do. How is this going to be different?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think there's a lot of technicalities and complexities with these radios in general. Like we got up here, I think it was last session, we talked about CBRS and SAS and all these acronyms. What do they mean? How does that work for the normal person? I think most people here, maybe even on the watching on YouTube or wherever, very technical. But how do we expand it so that anyone can access and we can enable more people with the capability to do it? So I think one thing is just removing barriers, and all of that is just looking at customer experience, customer interfaces, and I know everyone on here has been through the CPI approval process. There's just complexities that we can continue to make it simpler, and that's all software and getting feedback from the community. So we'd love to hear your feedback on Discord and emails, whatever it is, in the person, and we can try to make it all better together as a community.
Yeah. And to add to that, anyone that's deployed, it's a pretty simple process from like software point of view. Like you have the app, you do some scanning, you upload some pictures if you're doing the CPI installation for outdoors. But it is a fairly straightforward, easy process. So I think Helium, the solution as a whole, has done a very great job to simplify that part, which is the most challenging and most complex, setup for any kind of LTE 5G network. So I think that piece is actually pretty done well, right? The gateway automatically programs the radio accordingly. So from the big thing we normally see is like the physical part of it. Like, how do I mount this thing outside? Where do I put it? That part, yeah, there's maybe a slight learning curve. It's more of a professional install, but we're actually working too on trying to make more videos and try to explain this a little bit easier. Grounding is a whole other thing that maybe not a lot of people are doing properly, but done right, that's a whole course in itself, is understanding how grounding works and everything there. But the physical installation, I think that as long as someone gets that locked down, then they can kind of scale pretty quickly, because the actual software components is kind of automatic.
Coco, I'd like to bring it back to you. Can you talk a little bit to us about what's coming next for Helium 5G? Is there anything you can speak to us about the development work on proof of coverage and mapping? We'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, with the announcement today, we're really excited to kind of see where proof of coverage is going to evolve into. I actually brought a little piece of hardware with me today. This is our spot mapper that some of you may have seen on Discord, little sneak peek shots, but it's about the size of an iPhone, the older iPhone, not the new one. And this mapper is pretty magical. It's got 4 different radios, so it has IoT, so it connects to the LoRaWAN network that are existing original hotspots deployed. It has mobile, so it can connect to 5G networks, which is what its primary use is supposed to be. It's going to, you carry this in your pocket, you turn it on, and it just scans and attaches to cell towers, to 5G radios that these lovely people have manufactured, and it can tell the network whether the radio is where it says it's supposed to be. And the beauty of this mapper is that not only can it kind of scan the 5G networks around you, but it relays that data, the result of its scan, over the IoT network. So now it kind of combines the two subnetworks together to sort of create this holistic experience. And we've got a lot of great future thinking things for this mapper. It won't do just mapping things, so we're really excited to show you guys what this little gadget is all about.
And we've just got a little bit of time left, but I want to hear from you guys as hardware makers and distributors. What's next?
Good question. I think for now, definitely one of our new focuses for this year is to make sure that our Bobber 500 can really serve the market. And in order to do that, I think we've learned a lot from supply chain issues and how to make sure that we can really meet the demand. But other than that, I do actually want to talk a little bit more about our hardware capability. So for example, the team that we have in Taiwan that designed the Bobber 500 also used to design Xbox. So they do have a lot of experience and capability in there. And other than that, all the components that we use are the latest in the industry. We want to make sure that we build this to last. Of course, there are a lot of different tiers of customers. You're either in this for the crypto, or you're in this for the network use. You might be in this for the short term, for the mobile genesis, or you might be here in the long term for the deployment. And for a 5G deployment, it will be years and years and years. So we want to make sure that you buy our products, and after a couple years or more years, the products will still live. And that's what we make sure. And also, we have also positioned our manufacturing capabilities in Taiwan just to make sure the product is made in Taiwan. Because everything is, we consider this with long-term strategy just to make sure that we will always be here to adapt and grow and make sure we don't fall behind.
Great, thank you. Stephen and Jesse, do you have anything quick to add?
I'll just quickly talk. I mean, we're building these radios, and we're going to look forward at where are the right use cases, higher power, maybe cheaper devices that are more accessible. So we're looking at those options for LTE and then 5G soon. And the other thing we're looking at building are use cases. So we have CBRS cameras that we're going to be launching towards the end of this year. People can buy CBRS cameras and connect them to the Helium network. You can think of it like a ring system that runs on Helium. Video analytics, you'll be able to use it for all kinds of different security use cases. So we're looking at things like that, beyond the radios and enabling more people to use the network that we're building.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. So with Baicells, we kind of take the equipment we've already built. So all the Helium radios that are being sold today, they were already geared towards private LTE for the CBRS market. Helium just kind of came about, and that product line works very perfectly for this. But yeah, we are also working on a new set of Helium-focused products. Can't make any special announcements yet today, but we'll have some pretty new, exciting products coming down the pipeline, this year yet still.
Great, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.